Hello, this is Maximus Hangs Out, or Max Hangs Out. Today we're going to be discussing a bit of American politics, and we're going to delve right into the Kaepernick incident. Well, it was started off by Colin Kaepernick, but since then other football players have pushed forward and decided to join in and protest on behalf of the injustices faced by African American lives within the United States at the hands of various law enforcement institutions. To join me in this discussion, I brought together two guys who I really respect. One guy is with me here, Dragnon. Drag is a former Army personnel. He worked as a medic. Drag is also currently studying biology, and he's from the southern United States. And from what he tells me, he's black, although I haven't been able to confirm that yet. Oh, I'm just kidding. We have confirmed that. Trust me, if anyone is familiar with Drag's channel, it's not hard to hide. And because he's from the South, I had to exchange 20 pounds of crawfish in exchange for him getting his butt here, which is price well paid.
Fair. It's fair.
Which is fair. It's fair. And also Jim. He wants me to keep his employment a bit hush. It's kind of, I will say though that it is related to the discussion we're having here, but aside from that, it goes no further. He's a Catholic with a lot of kids, and in exchange, I had to log in 20 minutes of babysitting time. Personally, I would have gone with the crawfish there, but you get what you get. And he'll be in when he can. We're going to discuss the two sides of the issue about whether A, is such a protest justified, and B, is such a protest practical? The practical question concerns whether or not this is the best means of getting the message out there, whereas the justifiability part is more along the lines of whether or not this is something that should be protested in the first place. With that out of the way, I'll kick it over to Drag, and he could explain his own position on this.
Well, my position is, as somebody who has served, I can't simply pick and choose when somebody utilizes their First Amendment right or any amendment right. We can talk about well, during this time it's appropriate and during that time it's inappropriate all day long. But that is something that I stand firmly with. That it should not be a focal point that people can't utilize their any of their rights for that matter. But what I have heard over the last few weeks is that it's unpatriotic, which is an odd thing to say, as Kaepernick originally sat down. He originally was not kneeling during the national anthem. He just kind of sat out until all the beginning ceremony or whatever was going on. And I cannot remember the guy's name at the moment, but it was another veteran that he contacted, and the veteran actually informed him that he should kneel during the national anthem. I'm at a loss right now as to why he suggested that, but I have my suspicions. It would capture more attention. But it does make sense. Like, to me, it would capture people's attention. And for me, if someone was sitting down, you can look down upon them and say, you know what, we live in this wonderful nation where you have the option to do so, but you kind of should, just to show respect for those rights and for those freedoms that you were granted. On the flip side, I see the argument in which many have made, and including myself, is that if you are praising the freedoms that you are granted by this country, and the flag itself is, I guess for lack of a better term, a vessel in which these freedoms are acknowledged through, then using one of those freedoms in midst of this vessel would be respecting it, because you acknowledge that, yes, you have that option to do so, and because you choose to do so in his presence is a full acknowledgement, is the best way that you could exalt those freedoms and those rights. So I find it odd that people would consider it the exact opposite of what I see it as. And for me, it is, I guess it's a look into how a narrative may change, or how an alternative narrative may be developed over time when it's communicated by someone other than the person performing the act or the behavior itself.
Yeah, all right. And so how would you respond to people who would say, yes, that is indeed his First Amendment right, and I wouldn't take that away from him, but is it really practical to protest, of all places, in the NFL during the national anthem? Even though it might be, even though what you outlaid is the intent, how it comes across or how it's communicated is another thing. For starters, if the NFL is supposed to be kind of a water cooler professional culture, it would be the equivalent of, let's say, Kim Davis saying, "Look, this is my political position. I'm not going to issue same-sex marriage at my job," whereas Kaepernick is an employee there, and he or any other athlete, and they should really bring their politics to their workplace either, and disrupt everything there for the customers, which in this case is the fans or the audience, and their respective owners.
I see the argument that you're trying to make there. I think one of the main differences with that is that when Kim Davis wanted to express her views, she was actually precluding people from being married, and in effect not actually doing her job to the fullest extent. I guess one could argue that because you are part of the NFL and it is a part of a brand, that the particular rights that you have could be stymied in a particular way. And I would definitely agree with that if there was some specific regulation that kept people from doing that. But if there is not, then I don't think that the argument could be fully justified.
All right. Since we got a chance to question you for a bit and for you to express your views, Jim, how about we kick it over to you and you could express how you view the situation?
Well, first off, I think I'll just preface this by saying, as somebody who's generally interested in football, I am more pissed off about the Golden Tate touchdown that was called back in the Lions versus Falcons game than I am about anything else right now. Like what we're discussing right now is a distant second, and my beefs with the NFL center more on the ridiculous officiating and the meme-worthy nonsense that they pull on a seeming weekly basis than anything that players do in their off time.
That is actually a good point. What do you think it says about the NFL as an organization that this has become for them more of a focal point? Protesting Trump's anger at the organization, as opposed to something like challenging the fact that their players engage in a lot of unvirtuous activity, spousal beating, for example, or the problem with concussions. How do you guys see that? I'll start with you, Greg, and then we'll go to Jim.
For me, I called it a kind of a tertiary issue on Facebook, and I think when people do bring up some of the, I guess you could say, the more serious problems, like people physically beating their kids, some people beating their girlfriends and getting DUIs, others partaking in different types of substances to the point that they become just so inebriated that they lose all control of their bodies, and of course the occasional dog fight like some people do in the country. Those, in a lot of people's minds, would take precedent over something like this, which actually does not harm anyone other than their sensibilities to a degree. But I think we should not focus on those as of now, because there is a conversation to be had about what is and is not acceptable in this particular organization, as far as legally, as far as morally. And I believe we can have the conversation about what Kaepernick is doing without bringing in, like I said, these secondary and tertiary issues.
All right, and Jim, what's your perspective on that?
I think he had to reload.
Oh, okay. Now we play the waiting game. Oh, the waiting game sucks. Let's play Hungry Hungry Hippos.
Oh. While we're doing that, I need the, where's the watch link? I can't find the watch link to this.
Oh, really? Dashboard. It says here that there are 3 views, so there has to be someone watching.
Yeah, I'm trying to find your channel, and I don't, honestly don't know how to find it.
No worries. I'll get you the link. Max hangs out. You're probably spelling it Maximus hangs out or something.
Max space
hang.
Oh no, I put Hangouts.
That would have been a better name for the channel. I'll say that much.
So I click on your Google Plus page, and it says the 404 error, so I can't do it there.
Yeah, because there's no Google Plus page. Okay, so
I found it.
Renee,
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, well, apparently, I've been espousing a whataboutism, so there's that. I don't think I am. I'm just asking what's the perspective here, and I think that is a question on people's mind. So I'm not trying to make an argument. Jim says he's having technical issues. All right, so I guess maybe I'll just kick it to you and we continue, or
okay, yeah, I can monologue for any amount of time. I'm pretty good at that now. One of the more interesting things, actually, let me see if I can take cousin. One of the topics, this topic is so important that my federal government instructor changed the study guide to the first exam to include this topic. That's how serious this topic has gotten, and also to my Texas government instructor. He is one of the chairs, I guess, to the Student Political Science Association, and he invited me to a talk. And the next time we're actually going, well, today was introductions, and the next time we will be discussing this topic. So it is a new hot button topic. One of the things I don't like about this is that I think it's a forced hot button topic, in that, I mean, people are only talking about this kind of after the fact, because our Führer Trump, mm-hmm. Oh yeah, our good friend Robert sent me a message. He's working on calculus right now, and I'm like, man, you picked some bad timing. We'll watch it later, but no, I don't like forced controversies, and by forced controversies, I mean that because somebody, it doesn't matter who, somebody who is in some type of position and has access to the mass media has forced this issue upon people, in the sense that their outrage has sparked a backlash. And what I'm trying to effectively say, that just because someone does it doesn't mean it's illegitimate all the time, but that because this person has changed the narrative to make it outrageous, to make it so or seemingly disrespectful, and the entire purpose of it wasn't really not to be. So this kind of just is another nail in the coffin for how I view Mr. Trump personally. I don't believe that here's what I do. I'm not trying to be nice, trying to be charitable, but there are people in Puerto Rico, and they're going to be without power and resources for several months because of natural disasters. There are people who are turning against him, his main base, because he's not fulfilled campaign promises. This to me seems like the reintroduction of a Coliseum to keep the peasants busy and not worrying about the fall of society around them. That's honestly what this comes across as, because honestly, who cares? Like, in the grand scheme of things, if it was Colin Kaepernick's goal to draw attention to this phenomena of cops killing unarmed black individuals, then Trump has effectively fallen into that trap and given him exactly what he wants. Because in this case, bad press is good press.
All right. Now, now in terms of the practicality, though, for many Americans, it's been ingrained into them that the flag is a symbol of American patriotism and one's fidelity to their nation. Even if, for some people, it's far more deflated. It's just a cloth with some colors that's nice to look at and symbolically helpful. It's nothing more than that. And in terms of aligning yourself against that, or creating the perception that you're aligning yourself against that, wouldn't that kind of align your side of the issue, namely protesting the unarmed shooting of black civilians, with something that's anti-American? Or don't you risk that kind of perception?
I think the perception is always there anytime you have a large group of black individuals standing out. And it's been the trend in American history that anytime any group of individuals want to stand up for any injustices against black individuals, that it is always perceived as something inherently negative, and it really doesn't matter. This could be viewed actually right now on the King Library. There are letters from, and I quote, former supporter of Negroes, from people who are upset that nonviolent protests were taking place and that they found it to be very un-American. They found it to be very disrespectful, and they overall did not like the disruption of what they saw as normalcy. And so a lot of the same rhetoric is being used now as it was then. So people are, of course, being turned off from any sort of criticism, because they feel as though that this is another knee-jerk. This is just a knee-jerk from a majority of white civilization who finds this phenomena acceptable. They find the deaths of black and brown individuals acceptable, and that nothing should be done about it. That is the counter perception I'm explaining. So with this demonstration, it is also noted that even though he is kneeling during a time where people are supposed to be their most patriotic, it is a very interesting dynamic there, because it is, if the argument is made that it is unpatriotic, then the argument that it is patriotic can also be made against it, for the reasons I mentioned before, with that he is expressing a right and a freedom granted by the piece of cloth that he is indeed protesting, and that is part of the grand irony here. Oh, Jim's back. There we go.
Hey, Jim. So we were just talking about the pragmatism of protesting, protesting on behalf of the movement, using the American kneeling when the American flag is present. Of course, Dragg's response was, look, you're always going to have a kind of knee-jerk reaction when you're going against normal perception and normal events. And no matter what, there's always going to be some criticism, and there's no real alternative to this. How would you kind of respond to that? Or would you agree?
Well, I think in any controversial issue, there's always going to be a knee-jerk reaction. And I think that the difference between intelligent people and unintelligent people are the people who take that knee-jerk reaction and take a step back, analyze it, and say, okay, am I just reacting, or is this actually touching on something that is a legit thing? In this case, I'd say I would wager that a lot of the outrage over the kneeling is probably somewhere around knee-jerk jingoism. I'm not going to deny that. A lot of it really is America. But some people, and in my case, kind of especially, like, on my second deployment, like, dudes didn't come home from that deployment. And when you have announcers in the stadium saying, okay, well, we'll take a minute to, honor our nation's military members. You're kind of sticking a finger in the eye of the dudes that didn't come home and their families and whatnot. Now, I understand that not all vets feel that way, but some do, and it kind of hits me in the feels there. One thing that I haven't really analyzed is whether or not the feels are justified. So that's something that I'm still kind of questioning and turning around in my head. So I guess I'm still moving through the knee-jerk analysis phase, if that's fair.
That's fair, and maybe this is the point of the conversation where you two might want to interact a little bit more. Greg, what would you have to give Chris that?
Oh no, I completely agree with Jim. That is the focal point for many veterans is that, why is this guy kneeling when this flag or a replica of it was draped over the coffin of somebody that I served with, people that I knew, people that I lived with for X amount of years, somebody that I knew this guy's family, I knew who he was, I knew where he lived, I knew everything about this individual, and so this flag brings back so many memories of that, and to see somebody disrespecting that, no matter the reason, does give you a certain hit in the kidney. And so that is kind of where I sympathize with those who have that argument. But I have to also say that's a very, very, very dangerous place to go, because if now we set the precedent that because offense is taken by protest, then what else can offense then alter? Because if we are truly in an age of offense, and that people's actions and behaviors should be curtailed simply because of the way people feel, that's a dangerous precedent, because now we have other issues, other previous controversies where campuses are being shut down, people are being without jobs because people are offended. And so if we say, well, only this group of individuals can be offended, only these people can be hurt, and their sensibilities can be damaged. And so we will then shift and move and jerk only based on what they feel. Then there has to be a special pleading in order to do that. And so the issue comes down to, when does offense create someone's argument against a particular act or behavior?
That is a good point, and that actually touches on one thing that really irks me to no end, is when people are offended on behalf of me and my military service, which I'm sure you can absolutely sympathize with.
Oh, I've seen a lot of that today.
Don't do the thinking for me and don't do the feeling for me, okay? I'm more than capable of screwing that up all on my own without you doing it. And I totally feel you on the outrage culture or the offense culture thing. That's a huge problem, and I try to never argue from offense. Hell, if I tried to argue from offense, I probably wouldn't have made it through my first week in the great debate community.
Yeah, it gets called up pretty quick. Yeah, see, if we're going to acknowledge that we want to make good arguments, we want to have a certain level of decorum and civility, then I think that what people instantly do, and this is not in this issue alone, but many issues, is that it becomes a focal point for which people funnel all of their emotions through, just unabated. And then when that happens, there can be no conversation to be had. The grand irony here is that Kaepernick didn't originally do this, and I think I said this earlier, is that Kaepernick took cues from a veteran to do that. And that right there, I found was very interesting, because he originally did not begin kneeling to the anthem, and that fact gets overlooked so often. And then people say, well, it's offensive to veterans. Well, why did another veteran suggest it?
I would also like to point out, though, that at the time Kaepernick did that, his job was being threatened by a person who was arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL. So that's some convenient timing there.
Yeah, and for people, make the argument that he was good enough to start, he should have been capped, and I don't think that it's a clear-cut case that this what got him blackballed. It may have very well have had something to do with it. Max, do you see the side chat?
Uh, oh, yeah, I know. So folks are asking to get in, but I did want to keep this to just a two-person perspective in the meantime. If you guys don't mind, maybe later we could have more of an open dialogue,
Sure.
which and that could be either on air or off air, depending on what you guys feel comfortable with. But in the meantime, I just want to keep this to a discussion. Hopefully,
Sure.
you guys on the outside don't mind.
I think that's fair because I do it in my own hangouts.
Yeah, hey, I'm still gonna be here. I just got to mute for a minute. I got to take care of one thing that requires conversation that I don't think will be beneficial to this hangout. So I'll still be here. I'll still be listening. I'll let you know when I'm back.
Gotcha.
Sure thing. So another point I really wish Jim was, and I really wish I got to ask this question while Jim was in here, but I guess it could bear repeating here, because both of you, I saw a comment where you at least agreed on this much, that this is not an issue Trump, if he was smart about this, should have engaged with. He should have just kept silent and moved over and focused on shit that was more pertinent to his office.
Right. I think we both agree on that because I understand the topic from both sides of it. I am big on civil liberties and freedoms, kind of no matter what's going on. So I've removed my feelings from what is happening in order to try and make the best decision possible. I like to think that I'm pragmatic that way, but that's Sam was just calling me. But yeah, I think it's a smokescreen. I honestly believe that this is a smokescreen to kind of, hide some of his failures. And this is not something that I personally just, thought up in my head. This was actually something that I gained from a discussion, an open discussion in one of my courses, where the guy sitting next to me to the left and to the right had mentioned that I think this is just a smokescreen because Trump doesn't want to deal with his failures. And people can disagree about that, but once a Trump supporter, an admitted Trump supporter, says this, I'm like, you know what? That kind of confirmed what I suspected. We may be wrong, but the timing is odd, and it just seems like it's such a petty thing to discuss, since we're on the brink of a nuclear war with North Korea. People in Puerto Rico don't have food or water. That if there was a list of priorities that the head of our state had to make, Colin Kaepernick is at the very end, at the bottom tier of issues a president should be concerned with.
So I haven't actually looked at the Puerto Rico thing, at least too definitely to form a good opinion. But in terms of North Korea, Japan and South Korea both kind of affirmed and backed up and really lauded Trump's very hardened stance against their unstable neighbor. So I think when it comes to assessing the damage or risk North Korea might possess, I think we're safe just following the feelings and the advice of the two countries that would face the most damage in light of something going nuclear at that point. Although the Puerto Rico thing might have a better case behind it. In terms of Trump, there's always this thing where he seems to know how to rally with very popular and mainstream ideas, at least behind his voting base and his voting bloc in the red states that got him elected. Like in the Midwest, what's more popular than the American flag and the national anthem? And loving veterans. Like that's as American as apple pie or killing Indians.
Yeah.
The second, yeah.
He knows how to tap into that populist mentality, and that's one of the skills that he really excels at. If there are a certain segment of our society that they are the good old boys, the good old bootlickers who love the state and love anything that somebody of that His Majesty can present, then they're going to support him 100%, no matter what. And I think it's funny, and it's kind of sad at the same time, but not everyone in our country obviously can think critically. That's something that I've seen time and time again, and this is a really good example of people who are simply following a message and not thinking critically about what's going on around them, or neither do they have the skills nor the education to make the best decisions. So when he taps into this very uneducated segment of society, he reaches them on a level that, more educated, and this is my opinion, a more educated individual can't really reach them on. So it's, I think it's interesting. It's a skill almost. It's a talent that very few people possess. And he tapped into that to win. He's tapping into it now. So, hey, good for him.
But now this comes to mind, but as an alternative maybe to kneeling during the anthem and at the flag, wouldn't it be better to appropriate those things and make them populistic and make left ideas more populistic in kind of the vein Sanders supporters have been trying to do, rather than have this perception against these symbols? Because if Trump is allowed to just keep going to his base and reaffirm how much he loves these things, as opposed to the elite Democrats in the North or on the East Coast, then he seems to have a much better shot at winning. Or do you think that at this point the black community doesn't really give a flying crap about the Democratic establishment beating Trump, and they're more focused on accomplishing and furthering black civil rights?
It's hard to say. There are different communities and there are different organizations. There's a lot that don't support organizations like BLM. There are some that are working in very grassroots organizations, such as places like you have the Tea Party. They weren't mainstream, right wing, but they had very, very conservative ideals because they considered, most of the mainstream Republicans to be rhinos anyway. So you have more organizations like that are making strides in their communities. So I think a lot of people are disillusioned with both parties, but definitely the DNC. The DNC has taken such a hit this election that it should be a wake-up call. And I say should because some of them don't possess spines or a spinal cord to attach to a brain, so it's hard to really say what's going on for a lot of them. But yeah, I wish I could tell you. I try not to be a focal point for everything colored in America, but there's lots going on, and the DNC trust level is at an all-time low.
One of the issues you run into with the whole taking a swipe at the national symbol is I think one of the biggest target audiences for the NFL is the guns, God, and government crowd. So you're really kind of biting the hand that feeds by taking that swipe at the flag, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is something that I thought of, Jim, and I think you'll like this. So there was a thing going. There was a meme, a notion going around that because the NFL blackballed Kaepernick, that people should protest it. And I was like, okay, well, I was curious to see how that would turn out. I didn't really think that would amount to much. Then I see people posting, certain articles. Oh, well, the NFL is losing revenue, and of course, people say, oh, it must be related to Kaepernick, and I'm like, I don't think so. But people kind of kept on. So what ended up happening is that because of the controversy, not the NFL initially was like, we don't want any part of this. We want to get rid of him. He's a pariah. He's gone. They don't want that for their brand because they are brand. But now you have other players doing it. So even if the NFL does not want that, they're torn. If they support Kaepernick and his right to do that, because there's no regulations, then they're spitting in the eye of the people you just mentioned. And if they don't, then you still have people on that side that say, you know what, we're just going to boycott it. So they can't win. There's literally nothing the NFL can do to win this scenario, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, the thing is, too, I don't really buy that Kaepernick was blackballed because of his protest. Because remember, this is the league where Michael Vick found a job after he was tried, convicted, and sentenced for running dogfighting rings. If Michael Vick can find a job in the NFL after all that nonsense, I think Kaepernick could find a job if he was good enough. But that goes back to my original point, is he's a lousy quarterback.
So, and I made this point to someone that I spoke to on the phone a few days ago, is that and I actually use Michael Vick as an example. If you had, let's say that this wasn't Kaepernick, right? Let's say this was Marshawn Lynch. Now, you know as well as I do, it takes at least 3 full-grown men to hold Marshawn Lynch. I think we can agree on that, Jim.
No contest.
Yeah.
I'll concede the point.
So, at least 3 grown men. If this had been Marshawn Lynch, I think you would have seen people make excuses for him, people stand up for him. You would have seen the NFL, every team, the only teams that could not court him would have been probably against him, because at the end of the day, it's down to money. They don't really care. The Department of Defense pays the NFL to be patriotic, so the Department of Defense has a stake in this, obviously, but the level of skill, I think things would have been different if it was Marshawn Lynch.
So there's.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ray Rice has a job.
Right. But just as another thing, let's grant the premise that in an alternate universe where it was Marshawn Lynch doing it, unlike let's say Kaepernick, Marshawn Lynch has the stats where it's really hard to make excuses. Like if people were making the same excuses or the same arguments, trying to attack his career and credentials, I think it would be much harder than Kaepernick. So, well, I would agree. So, well, we could grant the counterfactual claim. It would be the flawed reasoning would just be so more apparent that it would be hard to see. So I think that's kind of the big difference between the two, at least from my perspective on this.
No, you make a good point, because you could really see where the loyalties of the NFL lie. But I think that the proof is in the money. If the NFL was being as patriotic as they wanted to be, the Department of Defense would not have had to pay them in order to be patriotic. And I think it's a little over $10 million, and it's interesting now that we talk about this stuff, because it was, again, a bit of irony. John McCain, one of the few veterans, working in the upper echelons of our government, was the one to call out the Department of Defense for doing this. Why should we pay people to be patriotic? And so if Trump is upset because, well, that's our investment he's thrown away, he has a good case for that, a very good case. But that's not it. It is, my sensibilities are hurt for X, Y, and Z reasons. You should not be behaving that way because I don't like it. Well, you know what? People may not like it. That's fine. But my cousin just sent me a message. Yeah, Cap does suck, to be fair. So, if people's sensibilities, I'm not even joking. He sent me that message because he's watching. He's also a veteran, by the way, and a cop. But it is very interesting, because should we pay people to be patriotic? And if they choose not to, should we be mad at them? Or the case could be made that because he is using those freedoms in this time, in this light, regardless of his skill level, wouldn't that be a display of his appreciation for the very country that granted him those rights?
Jim, would you like to respond?
Well, my only question about paying people to be patriotic is I would like to I'd like to take a look at the recruiting numbers and see whether or not the patriotic displays before football games has had any impact on that, because I would wager that is exactly why the DoD pays the NFL for all the jingoism. And yes, I said jingoism.
Oh, the artificial fool.
Yeah, well, because it's I mean, you can't deny it's a powerful recruiting tool, right?
It is. Oh, yeah.
Especially, like I said, when you pander to the guns, God, and government crowd. I mean, it's the same thing like with NASCAR, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, even more. I think even more with NASCAR, honestly. I don't remember my command giving out football tickets. They would always give out NASCAR tickets, so that's the only point of reference I have for that.
Do you go to a NASCAR event in uniform? You are God.
Oh, yeah. I remember on multiple occasions. Well, it may just be a cavalry thing, but our battalion commander would give out tickets to NASCAR, and people would go down there to, not LA, what the fuck is down there? It's about an hour and a half from Barstow. But they would go and have free tickets. And so, like, you know what? Hey, they love it. So, that to me would be a better recruiting tool. But the NFL has the crowds, they have the viewers, and I think that's really what Kaepernick wanted to tap into, because he knew that he was on a platform where he could be seen and where he could get the most bang for his buck, so to speak.
That's true. I mean, you do have a pretty big audience when you do something like that. I guess I guess for me too, like it just all comes back to the convenient timing of him losing his job, and then this whole thing kicks off. It almost seems like I wonder if it would have happened had he retained his position and the 49ers had posted a good record that season.
You think if he probably would not have jeopardized it if he thought he was staying?
Yeah, well, because it's kind of biting the hand that feeds in a way. But I mean, and we can speculate all day till we're blue in the face, and we can run what ifs and might haves and could have beens and all that. But it doesn't really affect the here and now, does it? And I don't really want to poison the well against him.
Right. No, I think it's fair to speculate, but you did acknowledge that kind of going there would be poisoning the well.
Yeah, like I say, I try to stay honest. It doesn't always work, but I try.
That's all the effort. That's all I ask for, just the effort.
Right. So,
but I am going to make a video response to you. You got nothing. You are going to be floored by what's coming.
I welcome it.
So maybe just to go off of another thing you guys might agree on, and no, it's not how stupid the Marines are, because I've seen some.
No question.
Because I've seen some good intramilitary ribbing on that front, but do you think this should be kind of a cue that the United States government should probably not be subsidizing a private industry like the NFL? Given,
I'm going to let Jim have that one.
My answer to that.
Yeah, I'm going to let Jim have that one.
Jim, you go for it.
Hell no. And while we're at it, and I have my bully pulpit, end the Fed.
I knew it was coming. Coming.
It came. Okay. So that's the libertarian response, Drake. Your perspective?
Yeah. So just in case you guys didn't realize, Jim's a little libertarian, but I would, on this one, this is interesting. So I think that it becomes a bit of a conflict of interest, because if you're going to give players a little bit of leeway to kind of do their thing, I can't remember what that guy's name is. He played many moons ago. Every time he'd make a fucking sack, he'd get up and salute. You know who I'm talking about. Shit, Watts. Cannot remember his name. J.J. Watts. Yeah, so J.J. Watts would get a sack, get up, salute. That's a powerful tool that instills that instills this sense of connectedness with the Department of Defense, with your country. And so that is a very, very powerful tool. So it would be key for the government to tap into that and to say, you know what, if we want this surge to work, such as the surge back almost a decade ago, then we need to inspire people and get them going to the recruiting offices and signing up, being the next Pat Tillman, being whomever. And so what other thing on TV, even The Walking Dead, doesn't even compare to the NFL. Like, I think they come like a fifth. So this is an effective tool for the government. And I think that if the NFL wants their money, then they should abide by some of their rules. And then for me, it would be pertinent that the government would have made the NFL or coerced the NFL. And I know Jim's ears are burning right now, but they should have said, look, we don't want to tell your guys that they cannot express themselves. But if we are paying you guys $10.4 million, however much it is, then there needs to be regulations that during certain parts of their introductions or during certain displays, during the halftime shows, this is a full-on patriotic, drum-beating, session, then that's it. So that something like this couldn't happen. If it did, there would be a fine, there would be some type of penalty. And so I'm going to go ahead and let Jim respond to that, because I know how he probably feels about that.
Well, I think you're right. As a libertarian, I acknowledge that there are two facets to it, right? There's what I want the world to be like, and then there is what the world is like. And I'm obligated to argue for my first facet, but to argue from the second one, right? I can't shoehorn the whole world into what I want it to be, because reality just doesn't work that way. So you're right. Like when money becomes involved, I think the payee is entitled to make certain demands. However, when that payee happens to be the federal government, we're walking a very, very dangerous line with that.
Right. I agree.
And that actually kind of, as a libertarian and just as a dude, regardless of my political beliefs, that's actually kind of frightening to me. I mean, it's one thing for you to restrict your soldiers' opinions and speech, what they can and can't do in a uniform, right? I mean, got it. Nobody's going to contest that. But at the same time, when you're going to muscle you, or when you're going to get your way into a private organization and then dictate what happens in that organization, now we got some problems.
Yeah, and that for me, that's one of the biggest, the most egregious issues with this, is that from what some people are saying, not everyone, is that when you sign up for the military, and for people who've never served in their life, you actually sign away your rights. And that's Jim. Am I lying? Am I making any of this up?
Nope, I'm with you so far.
Yeah, you sign away certain rights. So if we say that yes, this is a volunteer organization, military, I willfully sign away some of these rights and curtail my freedoms in this country in favor of, certain benefits, pay, whatever, super cool uniform, gotcha. That is something that is specifically reserved for these individuals. Now, trying to do that to citizens is where things kind of get funky, because they didn't sign up for that. And for me to tell Kirkpatrick or anybody else who, decides that they want to protest during this time that they can't do it, that's stomping on those same freedoms that I was supposedly protecting.
I would like to point out, though, that the uniform between the BDUs and the current OCPs was not cool. It looked like ass.
I got out right. I got out right as the ACUs were being phased out. Was at the last base for that. Looks like they got what are the new ones called?
OCP. I forget what it stands for. It's the old multicams that they were issuing in Afghanistan.
Oh wow. Yeah, I've seen.
It looks a hell of a lot better, man.
Yeah, it looks like it. 'Cause I saw a first lieutenant the other day at my kid's school, and she had it on. I was like, that was pretty good. Huh.
Okay, so I'm gonna derail this for a minute, and just give you a funny little anecdote. So I'm still in the Army National Guard, for those of you who didn't know, and occasionally I'll have people from my section sending me texts or emails about, military-related stuff, like they'll have questions for me and whatnot. I'm the section sergeant. So one of my brand spanking new second lieutenants texts me earlier today and says, "Hey, do you have Commander Bryant's email address?"
Wouldn't
so I text back and I says, "Well, sir, he's actually an Army 03 and not a Navy 04. But here's his email address."
Oh no.
Can maybe for those of us who are not military personnel, could you fill us in on the?
So, okay. So one of the first things you learn in the military are ranks. Like that's literally one of the first things that you really learn what ranks are, who your fucking boss is, what rank they are, and I can't tell you how bad of a fuck up that's literally walking into a family reunion and hitting on your cousin bad. That's really up there with it.
So essentially said that someone who's of a higher rank is really of a lower rank, and that's going to come back to him in the ass.
He actually promoted him to a higher rank in the wrong branch, is what he did.
Oh,
Like in the army, you refer to whoever's in charge of a company or a battalion or whomever as your commander,
mhm.
which is what Captain Bryant is. He's our company commander. But he just says, "Hey, can you give me Commander Bryant's email?" Sir, that's not how it works.
I see.
Or what people typically say, he must be like fresh. You would say like my commanding officer was Captain Mulaski. So I say, hey, do you have the CO's number? That's it. That's literally what would save you a whole lot of trouble and make you look
Yep.
a lot less stupid.
As an aside, though, I really like our company commander. Like any conference call or meeting he's in, he times it so that the next time we have it, he says, "Okay, so the last meeting went 31 minutes. We got to come in at the 30 mark."
Wow.
I know.
Mine. Wow. My cousin just sent me another message. He's 7 layers of all fucked up.
Yes, he is.
So,
By the way, El, if you're watching, no disrespect intended, sir.
maybe to reel this back into the kneeling discussion, do you think that by fact of the federal government providing the NFL money in order to gain recruits and then even putting in regulations and given the right to do so, wouldn't this essentially make the NFL a propaganda piece or a propaganda mouthpiece of the United States government at this point?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean,
I can
they would be recruiting officers with different uniforms who are paid to hit each other.
I'd support that. But
Huh.
Actually, I think the money to send like color guards and whatnot, if I'm not mistaken, at least in my state, the money that comes from like sending color guards to games and whatnot, I think it actually comes from recruiting command.
no, so as part of funds that they already have allocated.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. So that would kind of make more sense. Like if you sent like it'd be the same thing. Like they sent a small detachment to the local high school or Boys and Girls Club or something like that. Like that's something on a small scale that I wouldn't really have too much of an issue with. But because like overall, and I think the number is 10.4 million, because they spent so much money in this organization, it almost is if the NFL is obligated to curtail, anti-patriot or seemingly anti-patriotic behavior. And I think it puts them in a very precarious situation, like the one I mentioned before. It really doesn't matter what the NFL does because and people who've been in the military understand this, perception is reality. That perception will kill you. If people perceive Cap as being good enough and being blackballed because he was protesting the flag, then they will boycott. But people who say, well, you know what, he just sucked and he should have been kicked out, he's unpatriotic, and you're now supporting him, I'm going to protest you. So there is no win, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it just goes back to what I was saying. We're in a dangerous spot, and I don't like it.
Well, I think since we're coming on the hour mark, would you guys mind if we open the Hangout out to participants?
Oh, sure. I think Sam said he wanted to get in.
All right, bring Sam in. Just send him the link. Anyone, I'm a little weary of giving my link out on the group chat. So if you know me on Facebook or if you know someone who knows me, or anyone in this Hangout, feel free to contact them and I'll send you the link through that means.
While we're kind of waiting for people to drift in, do you guys mind if I climb up on my soapbox for just a minute?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
One thing that has bothered me over this whole situation, right, is I try to keep friends of all points of persuasions, and I've seen a lot of them saying, well, they're trying to restrict, the rights of protest or something like that. People who disagree, right, who think that kneeling, they shouldn't be kneeling during the flag. So the idea is that anybody who disagrees with kneeling is trying to clamp down on the freedom of expression of football players. That's not true. Right? Disagreement does not necessarily equal disenfranchisement. Like, I can say that you have the moral right to do something, or I I can say that you have the legal right to do something, but you don't necessarily have the moral right to do something. And I think that sentiment can best be summed up with a Johnny Cash quote that says, "I will fight to the death to defend your right to burn the flag, but if I catch you doing it, I'm going to shoot you."
I think I know where he got that from, where it got the inspiration for it from. But yeah, it goes back to the famous quote, I'll defend your right to, or something that, yeah, Brian.
I might disagree with your right to say something, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Sorry, I might disagree.
I was trying to make a Brian Griffin joke where he would mention or try to mention a famous joke, but it didn't come out right. So I couldn't feign knowing the quote and doing the Brian Griffin joke at the same time. It didn't work. You don't watch Family Guy?
I do. I just have a tough time remembering that clip.
Oh, shouldn't have tried that joke. It sucked. Anyway.
Remember, yeah, I think it does bear repeating, though, that one's right to say something or do something, that one has the civic or legal right to do something is a very low bar. Like, yes, someone has a civic right to do to kneel at the flag or to say something which is very challenging to mainstream ears, but that also includes saying racist stuff or waving a Confederate flag too. It's a low bar. Like the bar at which we want to argue is whether it's justified and whether it's practical to do so. Like, that's really where the intelligent discussion is to be had, and I think we've done a good job in having it between the three of us.
Well, I was sitting outside of the university, and I was trying to figure out, because I had a conversation with Ozzy the other day, private conversation, and we were trying to discuss why conversations kind of go awry, and I think it's because people attach malintent to disagreement. So anytime you disagree with something, there's always malintent coming from them, and even if it's not like overt, maliciousness. And so I think it's just the propensity to do that is what leads people to go to these, you go to your corner, I go to my corner.
That's actually a really good point. I like that. Like the propensity to link malintent to a dissenting opinion. Well, I will agree that there is definitely malintent on both sides. I think if there is any general malintent, it's more just kind of crept in rather than specific malintent located in the majority of individuals.
It'd be hard to kind of demonstrate that every single person who disagrees with you is malicious, unless you're just in a shitty area.
Like Baghdad?
Yeah, that could be one. Any of the variable sandboxes out there.
Well, it's like, what was it? The book Catch-22. When I was overseas, everybody I knew out there was trying to kill me.
Just so happened, huh? You're that guy?
Definitely that guy.
Nice. He had Jim probably had the pre-written sworn statements already.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
That's all I have to say. That was gonna fly over a few heads, but that's good. That's definitely good.
By the way, I warned Max that this was going to turn into just a bunch of military anecdotes, stories, and jokes. I warned you.
I should have, and it's my fault for not listening. Mea culpa.
I mean, that's what tends to happen, honestly. Because it's a different dynamic, and I've tried to find a way to phrase what happens in the military, because I still have like my first sergeant and a few other people who are on the polar opposite side of this as me, but I know if we sat down and talked about it, it would be a more productive conversation.
One of the reasons I actually wanted to have this conversation is because I posted a picture of a Ben Shapiro tweet where he says that I think we could all agree that we should all be kneeling to Nickelback songs. Something, and I said as a tag to that photo, Matt, I have friends on both sides of this, but I think we could all agree to this. To which someone I knew said, if you have anyone who's against the kneeling, then tell them to fuck off. And like, I don't really agree with that kind of attitude towards this discussion. I think that it's possible that a good chunk of them might have strong associations to a flag, and merely telling them, "Hey, be reasonable, be mechanical about this, and agree with this position I hold, or I'm not going to talk to you. This is excommunication." I didn't really feel like that was the right approach, and I really thought that having a discussion like this between you two was a good way to show that two people can disagree on the subject, and the two people could both be either not racist, can be not racist, and can hold some kind of patriotism towards the flag, even if they're against the kneeling or for the kneeling.
Right. I mean, it's like I try not to attach malintent to people unless it's kind of clear that they're not firing on all cylinders and they're just going by just pure emotion and honestly a lot of ignorance. But I was genuinely surprised when I came to Texas that a lot of the kind of the right wingers, they're pretty amicable folks. You know, if you get to know them, a lot of them have their very say staunch opinions based on not the best logic in the world, but they do have a starting point that's just not, you know, guns and glory, bitches and beer, even though that's the perception that Texas gives people. So
There is nothing wrong with that, by the way.
there's nothing wrong with that. There isn't. I'll say that there's nothing, but you have to throw in a little bit of logic in there every so often.
Yeah, exactly, because how else are you going to figure out, should I go with the beers first or the bitches? Because that could be a very deep internal struggle.
I guess it depends on what they look like.
And how good the beer is.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the right does need to learn something about tactics, because if you're on the far right, such as I, then you should be in favor of the kneeling, because it's accelerationist. It gets us closer to the conflict needed to enact our policies.
Yeah, like Zizek in reverse.
Yeah.
The idea is that because this is so unpopular with the populist and mainstream American viewpoint, that it makes the left-wing establishment in the United States that seem much more radical.
Yeah, like it's this whole affair is a godsend to people like me, because it's like it's killing two birds with one stone. In the first case, you have television as an opiate of the masses. You know, the left is pretty good at ruining media. You know, this whole thing is just Gamergate for beer swilling, you know, people in their 30s, or not 30s, in their 40s, because who owns a TV? So it's like, not only is it getting away from the thing that's keeping them docile, but you're injecting race politics into American living rooms, which is exactly what we want.
I was about to say, mother trucker, I am a beer swilling person in my 30s.
I know, and you're a libertarian who works for the government. You're full of full of contradictions.
Well, just complexity.
I do have to say, Seamus, for somebody who is on the far right and sides more with Trump, you sound very elitist when it comes to, you know, speaking about the masses and how they are.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
I wish I could shove my head up my ass that far.
Yeah, they weren't. They were born in a crappy era. So I watched TV when I was young, but I don't know. When was the right not about hierarchy? You know, we're not populists. If you want to talk about, or we're populists in a different way. We defend what's good for society, but like we're not gonna say like, oh my God, every man is a fucking genius. For that, you can talk to socialists and they'll tell you what you want to hear all day long.
Like, I'm a monarchist myself, and I do see the importance of hierarchy, and that's why I kind of see myself as opposed to the more American Trumpian conservatism. But you seem to, just judging from your comment, you seem to be pushing for Trump and his political movement, which is populistic.
It is a start. Like I do not see Trump as the answer to all of our problems and the thing that will actually make America great again. What he does is he furthers, like he moves the Overton window to the right. He furthers, he gets people aware of the culture war that's been being fought for 150 years, and he buys us a bit of time. So he's useful to have, but he's not an end in himself.
And what would be your ideal end?
Oh, Francoist Spain? I don't know. Maybe so. Or Chile, circa 1973.
So you want to push commies off helicopters?
Yeah, or do like they did in Paraguay and bring them down to a basement and shock them with cattle prods. Whatever. We will leave that to the professional criminals that we put in the roles of prison guards.
Hey, America, freedom. Ooh.
Fuck freedom. Fuck freedom of expression. Fuck all of it. The Enlightenment was a mistake.
I actually have far left-wing friends who would agree with you, so
Yeah.
there's the
Which is weird because they're the children of it. But then again, we're all the children of Sorelianism. So.
All right, then. So, well, that's one other opinion on this. The pro-kneeling far-right opinion. Does anyone want to come in and go with the anti-kneeling far-left opinion? We're here all night, folks. Well, not all night. Some of us have shit to do. But still.
Don't lie. You got nothing to do.
I have to be up tomorrow and work out.
You have to say that more of a dude bro voice to get, us to be convinced.
You don't say work out, you say lift.
Yeah.
Bros, I gotta get up early and start lifting. Yeah.
I think Sam might have gotten busy. Because I know he wanted in.
You kind of got to look like Chad when you do it, too.
Oh, you talking about that stupid fucking meme he keeps sharing?
I love Chad memes. Shut up.
Hilarious.
Oh god, I've seen both versions of that. I'm like, oh, it could be a fucking break. It's funny though. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, my friend Haunted Shore wants in on this hangout, and he says he's totally gonna ruin it. So this should be fun.
Oh, Haunted Shore, he's fun.
He's a
But
good
you
guy.
got to understand, too, right? Like, you can't attach any specific meaning to memes. You just got to take them for what they are and laugh at them.
The dude has a fucking bulge, man.
I know. That's the whole point of being Chad.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't be a virgin and have a bulge like that, dude.
I actually just made a Chad meme today. Yeah.
God, another
My second one. No, yeah, I think you've seen this. The Virgin Libertarian versus the Anarcho Chad.
I think that might have been the one I saw today with the bulge. Yeah.
The earlier one was the Virgin Empiricist versus the Chad Rationalist.
I like the Chad Universalist versus the the Virgin Universalist versus the Chad Zealot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The pews are all empty and shit. And I'm like, man, that guy, he's trying. He's trying.
Exactly. Hey guys, Christianity is all about love and togetherness. Didn't your religion preach doctrine and hellfire for like thousands of years before this? Well, they just didn't really understand the Bible.
Somewhere Veckel's ears are burning.
Maybe we should get him in here, see what he thinks.
Oh god, I'm still trying to get him to take an Ancestry.com DNA test.
Do you think he's not fully black?
Based on some of the shit he says, I have questions. But based on his last name, he and I, there's a strong possibility we're related.
I see. That would be kind of interesting. That would be kind of interesting. I wonder how far that would go, though.
It wouldn't go very far. He'd still treat me the same because most of my family treats me just as we interact.
Hmm.
But then
Fair
again,
point.
they're just as smart as Veckel, if that tells you anything. Some of them. the one watching now is not one of them.
I see.
Well,
Let's see
obviously
if
not.
there's anyone else. You know what? Mine's a small enough channel. I'm just going to put the link out there and see who wants to come in. Please, no penises. Please, no penises.
Well, then we'll just have to take it off here then, now, won't we?
That is true, but you have to do it really fast. Like, those sensors are... Like, those sensors make me believe in omniscience. Just knowing everything, or at the very least, omnipresence.
I think they do it now just out of, like, anytime you report it, they just take it down as a precaution. Shit, I'm trying to remember my cousin's screen name.
Are we talking about YouTube censors here?
Yes.
Yeah, like, it's gotten pretty fucking crazy. My job involves YouTube, and so basically, if you're not an approved list, you're effectively blacklisted, and they will assume the worst of anything. It's like you can upload a video and have no tags, no metadata, no title, nothing, and it will be like demonetized, and it won't show up in people's feeds. People who are subscribed to you won't see it. So this is, once again, accelerationist. This is a great thing because it will kill YouTube by limiting the talent pool that was their strength.
Hey, Haunted Chore, you want to throw in your 2 cents on the whole kneeling versus anti-kneeling thing?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I just, it was already brought up, the whole Department of Defense thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh, okay, never mind then.
Just throw in your 2 cents, even if we went over it. It doesn't hurt if you repeat something.
I just think it's funny that these people were essentially sold patriotism, but they never really, they never really looked into it that much.
Who didn't? The NFL or
Well, the people getting pissed off at it.
Ah, I see.
Well, I think the people who are getting pissed off come in a few varieties. You have the people who are, your staunch, whatever the government does is fine kind of folks, and then you have people who are kind of those, they sit out in the wings and they stroke their dicks to the military because they could never be a part of it. And so anytime that they have an opportunity to support the military, this is their way of serving.
Yeah, I meant more of the average NFL consumer.
I don't know if there is an average one, honestly.
But they correlate with that though, so makes sense. I don't watch football,
perhaps.
so I honestly couldn't care less about what happens to the NFL.
It's actually a bit more diverse than people think. I think NASCAR is fairly homogenous when it comes to their viewer base, but the NFL is very, very big, and that's why you see a lot of people from all types of walks of life defending Kaepernick and a lot of condemning. And so that's what kind of makes this a really interesting thing where, people who are in Jim's side, where, I have people in my unit who have died and who have been buried with that flag, and now it's being disrespected. And so it's kind of welling up all those emotions. And then you have folks who never joined and never going to join because they're too weak or fucking stupid, and they want to be military. So this is their way of interacting, that's more or less.
God, I wish I could die for Israel.
Oh boy.
Fantastic. Sorry, many on the far right tend to be anti-Zionist.
Yeah.
On the far left, oddly enough.
Israelis versus Palestinians. Whoever wins, we lose.
You could just join the military if you want to kill people,
For Uncle Sam, no way.
or any military.
I would, if Poland invades Germany and starts exterminating the Kraut menace, then I will volunteer for an international brigade.
Somehow I doubt that.
Yeah.
God, we can try.
Does
Yeah,
anybody
kinda
else
funny,
find? Am I the only one who finds it ironic that an Irishman is a white supremacist?
Irish in quotes. They were all British citizens.
No, I mean your name. It sounds very Irish. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Hey, I agree with the nativists of early America. Bringing in that many Irish was a horrible fucking mistake. That's what got, Tammany Hall in power. It's like they were correct. Thankfully, all my people were already here. We predate the United States.
I would just like to point out that it would be deliciously ironic if Poland did invade Germany.
That is true.
Like
If I was the U.S. ambassador to Germany and Poland invaded, all I would say is, "Well, turnabout's fair play, sucker." Deal.
Just close
Also,
windows.
who says I'm a white supremacist? If whites were so fucking supreme, why did they allow themselves to be subverted so horribly?
Well, it's because the Jews are reptiles, so they're so smart that they're even smarter than white people. They're too smart. That's the problem.
Oh.
At least that's what what's his name said, Dionysus or whatever.
Oh, the mental patient.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that guy.
I thought the Jews were gray aliens and not reptiles.
Oh no, I think you're thinking of Hillary Clinton. She's a
Yeah.
reptile. Which I'm not going to disagree with at any point in time.
Hey, Netanyahu's son already laid it out,
Sure.
Or did you see Netanyahu's son? He's basically like a neo-Lehiist. He reposted that meme that's like, the American is following a burger held by a Jew who's following money held by the Illuminati, who is following the world held by an alien or a reptile, who is following DNA held by a gray.
What?
An alien.
A gray alien.
Uh,
An Area 51er.
Well, thank goodness we don't follow what the sons of politicians dictate. I mean, look at, or heads of state. I mean, consider Prince Charles and the crazy shit he's done.
Yeah, but Netanyahu is a guy who is controlled by his family. Like I was on a date with an Israeli, and she was like talking to all about how the perception of Netanyahu is that he's puppeted by his wife. And that she, like, because he had an affair with a psychologist, she threatened to divorce him. And in order to stay, she demanded to be like let in on the all the meetings and stuff. There's a big national security problem.
Woman smart.
I am actually surprised that someone on the far right dates a Jew.
I date mostly Jews.
Well, I
We
mean,
tend to get along a bit better.
yeah, I think it gets you ahead in the world.
Guess the expectations
Horseshoe
are
theory.
different.
What?
More.
Horseshoe theory.
Oh yeah.
Horseshoe theory?
Horse?
It's a meme. It's a meme.
Oh.
But it's this idea that people on the far right and the far left have more in common with one another than people at the center do. Like, the closer you come to the center, yeah.
I can see that.
But I just said it because there are similarities between white nationalists and Zionists to an extent.
Oh my God,
I mean-
they're the same organization. The Lehi, one of the groups in charge of that kicked out the British, is a National Socialist organization. And then there's a lot of similarities between Nazism and communism, obviously.
I mean,
You guys ever see that red versus blue video, real life versus the internet?
I stopped after season 4.
Well, it was kind of just a short they did that had nothing to do with it. Like, real life, hey, I'm going to go out on a date with a girl. Internet, I'm just going to go jerk off. That one.
Yeah. Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Regarding this conversation, I honestly feel like the one dude who shows up in the middle of the firefight saying, I voted for Nader. I hate everybody.
Poor Ralph Nader. People still shit on him.
Nader was, I believe, the first guy that my brother voted for, and he only recently left the Green/Rainbow Party of Massachusetts.
He was also Lebanese. Nader was not your brother. Can speak to that.
It doesn't matter. Vermin Supreme's going to be the next president of the United States.
It's pretty trustworthy and consistent.
He's pretty cool.
I
Well,
love Vermin Supreme.
That the boot on his head shows that he's a good trendsetter.
We need to keep Pat Buchanan alive as long as possible.
I mean, who else is going to stop the Mexicans?
Yeah. Slow going.
I mean, it would be helpful if folks just kind of sat at the border with guns.
This is
They did
true.
that already, and then the government shut them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got a new government, so we
Well-
might be able to swing this.
You could volunteer, Seamus.
I do want to move to
According to-
Texas at some point.
You said it's beautiful
Actually-
down here.
And
I
I don't
have a
know.
buddy in the military who, when he retired, tried to buy 50 acres of land on the Mexican border and a backhoe. And I'll just leave you there to figure out what the backhoe was for.
If we
Yeah.
all go out. Anything is
Yeah.
possible.
Pretty sure the federal government was like, yeah, we're going to need that land.
When I was
Although-
when I was in Fort Huachuca, we were out in the field, and one of our squads was out doing, I forget what the hell they were doing, but then they ran across a group of illegals trying to sneak through the brush. That one got interesting. If you don't know, for those of you that don't know, Fort Huachuca is in southeastern Arizona, like right up on the Mexican border.
I often don't get this inconsistency in terms of conservative economic principles and conservative and protectionism from and anti-open border policies. According to free market economics, when there's more competition, more selling, the market prospers. Everyone prospers because that means there's some commodity which is available and which is cheap and obtainable. And yet
Yeah, like heroin.
I mean, you could
There's
use
a
any
market for it.
Exactly. You could use any commodity. The point is, labor is a positive. Labor is a commodity. Everyone seems to agree is of vital importance. And opening the border, if we accept free trade arguments and say that free trade guarantees good competition, why not extend that to labor as well? I mean, it seems that open border policies in any country are a good thing.
Well,
At least
you're
that-
making the mistake, though. You're assuming that American labor is free or unregulated,
Yeah, plus,
or as unregulated as its competition.
plus capitalism is bunk. It empowers the managerial intelligentsia kind of bourgeois class, and they're all liberals.
You should be a Nazbol.
Nazbol squad.
I mean, if the most smartest people are in charge, better society, right?
Yeah, it could help. Or
Well,
at least the people who have some, aren't worshiping mammon.
Fuck, is that gonna do anything?
it's a reference that politicians and the powerful worship money. It's mostly associated with the Jews, although can't say Seamus is making that assertion, but he might be.
Hey, if folks want to reenact the beginning sequence from DuckTales where Scrooge McDuck is swimming in a vault, you know what? That's their freedom.
Exactly. As long as they obtain that money fairly, and I mean legally.
I don't think it would offer much buoyancy.
Of him.
Also, Jim, just to respond to your point, while I agree that the world as it is would have American labor regulated with open border workers unregulated, but I'm saying in terms of consistently applying those principles, the conservative would say just make labor across the board unregulated. Like that would be how you solve the problem, not close the border.
You see, we also run into the other problem, though, where eating tacos is cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I don't consider that an actual issue. I can't tell you how much I don't care about that kind of shit.
I know. Can you imagine? And that's the thing that flabbergasts me, right? Is when you see stuff like that. Can you find a bigger non-issue? I mean, we might as well talk about the gum that Kim Kardashian stepped on last week.
I'd
Actually-
rather not, 'cause one of them is
actually-
pregnant.
I have one. We could be talking about the NFL.
That's another non-issue to me.
Stay on target.
What is an issue? Let's go ahead and make sure this crazy fucker from across the pond doesn't do anything. He remains not doing anything. Let's make sure that all of our land and our territories have recovered from natural disaster. Those to me seem like some pretty good plans.
I'll say it again, and the Fed.
In the oh, speaking of the Fed, sir. Speaking of that, Jim, have you seen the movie Game Changer?
I have not. My time is very limited these days, so when I watch a movie, the rare chance that I actually get to sit down and watch the movie, I kind of have to split it up over 3 days.
Oh.
So it's going to be a movie that I actually really want to see.
Sarah Palin does not know what, well, she knows now, but at the time she did not know what the Fed is. And that entire scene with Woody Allen is fucking priceless, sir.
Oh, Lord of mercy. Why? Like that. See, and that's the cringiest thing about the American right. Like they pin themselves on people like Sarah Palin or Sean Hannity or, Mark Levin, as if like these people are the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they're like, no, these are a bunch of neo-fascist dolts.
Well, here's what,
Hey,
and
don't
you know,
besmirch the name of fascism like that.
every single time. But Jim, like, if watch the movie when you get a chance. Watch the movie because every other, I would say, 90% of McCain's advisors told him that, look, she has not gone through the proper vetting process, but we need a VP. She wins with females. She wins with her, far right views. She's a creationist. Like, her being a creationist actually kind of took center stage between, I think, the lawyer and Woody Allen's character. Woody Harrelson, I keep saying the wrong fucking guy. Woody Harrelson's character. And they actually make a reference to that, and that she's fucking stupid. And
Well, now that you tell me Woody Harrelson's in it, I do want to see it.
yes, I don't know why I said
look
Allen.
like it.
Yeah, he plays the campaign, the overall campaign manager. I cannot remember the actual title, but he was pretty much the manager. And he and Palin got into it like, oh my, like he held his tongue for so long.
See, that just dredges up painful memories for me because, like, I remember I was deployed at the time, and I remember wanting to blow my brains out when I voted.
Oh, you have no clue. I knew that she made gaffes and she wasn't that bright, but to see really where they plucked her from and the stuff they had to deal with and the shit that she said and how just uninformed that she was, I was at a state of shock. Like, she could have been vice president, and she knows dick all about politics.
Oh, the best part
Or
too
history.
is like when you read about some of the. Did you read about that big brawl that happened out at their house? I think it was like a year or two ago. Like, they had this huge party, and it just devolved into this redneck brawl.
I'm gonna say I'm not surprised by that.
Really, I think the best person McCain should have gone with was Joe Lieberman.
That's who he wanted. But the issue is that people saw, and they actually talk about this at the beginning of the movie, they saw Lieberman as too moderate, and that McCain was viewed as a moderate himself, or I guess a rhino, for lack of a better term. And they felt that even though it would make a good balance because that's what McCain wanted, they needed Palin to really nail in that good old home cooking, good old boy kind of, section of America to get them on board with what McCain was doing.
Well, the issue with Joe Lieberman as VP is it would have put him one very weak heartbeat away from the presidency. And who wants that?
Like Reagan.
Yeah, I think someone actually did make a reference to his age. But, shit, it's a good movie. Like, overall, you saw McCain kind of say, we're not going to tap into this really, dark populist thread that is seeping within, the American population. And he was he was staunch on that. Like they could not shake him. They did not want to run a campaign. They did not want McCain didn't want his legacy to be, just some mudslinger, and I respect him for that.
The interesting thing is, before the 2012 election, not really before Trump, but 2012, where it was Romney, a lot, actually, and also let's not forget the Tea Party, the establishment in the Republican Democratic parties seemed to overlap quite a bit. Joe Lieberman and McCain were establishment establishment Democrat and establishment Republican. They got along so well that they could have realistically formed a ticket. At the time, during the Clinton administration, you had the president at the time say, "This is the party of." This is he was encouraging small government. I'm not sure of the quote exactly, but said this is a house of small government, something akin to that. Like, they coerced a Democrat to say that. Having the Republican Congress and House instead of just dragging him along, and now with the Tea Party gaining far more dominance, and the populism you alluded to getting gradually stronger since then, it seems that the parties are far more dynamically opposed. It's the extremes of the party that have kind of taken center stage, and the moderate wings can't really overlap with each other anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's sad because ideally you would want people, at least in my opinion, kind of in the center so that they can see each other's points, and not just pretend that they have the biggest and best position and that your opponent's position has absolutely no merit. I think that's highly uncharitable, and so you can't work toward unifying a nation and moving forward, making progress when you can barely be charitable to your interlocutor.
Right, and I think that
this is a wonderful development. The neocon right and corporate left were just negotiating the enslavement of America. It's like
nobody likes radical centrism anymore.
Yeah, centrists are the first ones who get the bullet. But yeah, that's now we have the establishment right and the left huddled together. John McCain is the same camp as Nancy Pelosi and fucking Paul Ryan. And then we have people who actually believe in things and aren't trying to just make the United States another Brazil or a rootless trading bloc like the EU. We have the globalists versus the nationalists, which is fantastic. It's a big improvement over globalist management team number 1 versus globalist management team number 2. Anyway, you're saying.
Lots of spooks on both sides, so.
Just
in the sternerest sense.
Yes. Of course.
Oh.
Both are very spooky.
Yeah. Yes, I would support the formation of a union of egoists.
Yeah, but then you'd have to reject borders.
Oh shit! I can believe in my own spooks if I want to.
Because borders are as spooky as liberal ideas of, they're friends, we should allow them in. Just as equally spooky.
Yeah, but I could spin whatever lie that I want in order to make an advantageous position for myself.
So you're okay with? What you're saying is it's okay to make up the construct of borders as long as you can retain the fact that it is indeed a construct.
If I were still a Sternerist, then yeah, that was basically my position. However many.
Well, you need to take the black pill.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been into the ego and his own camp. It is a good book. It's like if Nietzsche didn't have brain cancer.
I actually read that back when I was in high school. There was something about Stirner that gelled with me at the time.
Yeah, he's the happy nihilist.
Yeah.
Spaceship door gunner. Hey, you there, cuz? Oh, shit, my cousin's in here. Here we go.
Hey, Kelvin. It was nice of you to back up us when we said that Kaepernick didn't beat Zach. Hello?
He just muted
Can you
himself.
guys hear me?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I had to. The guy, like I said, if he was a better quarterback, then maybe it'd be a different story, but he's practically garbage to the people that are saying, oh, Cap's a great quarterback. Nah, that ain't the reason why he's sitting there and not getting signed. It's just that he's legitimately garbage compared to anybody else that's out there right now.
There's actually a quarterback who has a very terrible record, but did get signed, and people pointed to him as an example. And they said it's probably because he doesn't challenge any norms or conceptions. Although, to be fair, the guy who bought them, the owner, is a Palestinian. I think it was Seattle that bought him. No.
Not sure if I can say that the NFL has many morals given what they do tolerate. And I think there's room for the conversation about, well, if they do accept people who beat their wives and mercilessly beat their children and fight dogs and all this other kind of stuff, then you know what, this moralizing of what Kaepernick did is kind of low on the totem pole.
This is, yeah, I mean, compared to everyone else in the NFL, I think my respect for Tom Brady just went up a bit more.
Well, and everybody gives me shit for being a hockey fan.
Well, they settled their issues on the ice.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
Plus, it's kind of hard to
Canadian.
kneel when you're in skates. You tend to eat ice when you try that.
Yeah. Also, don't players have to stand for both the Canadian and American national anthems most of the time?
Yeah. You got two national anthems to last through.
Really? Canadians?
Because many of the teams that play are Canadian teams, and we have Canadian athletes. That just really incorporate a lot of the NHL's population of athletes.
Wow. So do you guys sing in French too?
What's that?
I said, they sing it in French too?
Yeah.
There are some times when it is sung in French.
I was making a joke, but I stand corrected. Wow.
Yeah, there's actually one of the most hated teams in the NHL is from Quebec.
Yep, the Montreal Canadiens.
Did I even ask why they're the most hated team?
Because
Because the country is primarily run by Anglos.
Well, no, the big reason why is they're a team that isn't afraid to be goonish. That's one thing.
So it's a team of nothing but a bunch of Marshawn Lynches.
Well, their goalie is. I mean, the guy is inhuman.
Well, ideally, you would want someone who could be as wide as the net, as wide as possible.
No, that is not how it's been. That's not how hockey's actually been developing. It used to be some of those big guys, the ones that were huge. They took up a majority of the net and they just butterfly kick the puck one way or another, and they'd have huge equipment. But now the goalies are super flexible and inhuman when it comes to blocking any puck. They're like ninjas on skates.
So you look like an anime character on skates and pads.
Exactly.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, sometimes you will think you are watching anime with some of the saves they make.
It's kind of amazing. There's a reason why Wayne Gretzky had a very good record in his career. It's because he wasn't up shooting against these kind of goalies. It was just those big guys with butterfly kicks. So it was much easier in comparison.
So I don't know whether I would want E. Honda or Sagat, as a goalie, but you know what? I'll take either one as long as they're not near me.
I'm taking E. Honda. You sit there and move his hands real fast and block any damn thing.
I've not been getting into hockey. The only other non-American sport that I find appealing is rugby.
Hockey is a man's sport.
You know what? If you have a bunch of guys on the field and one motherfucker with a ball, and literally the entire team is trying to fuck him as he runs, you can't get any more manly than that.
That's true. Rugby is pretty brutal.
That it is.
I've watched some of those hits, and I'm like, that guy shouldn't have got back up, but he did, and I applaud him. He got up, and his balls are clicking.
One of the smartest things I ever did, I'm very proud of myself for this, is when I was in Afghanistan, I was working in a British office. And they said, hey, why don't you come out and play rugby with us? And I said, no, thanks, I'll pass. I think I'll just go.
You missed an opportunity to bond with a fellow Allied soldier. I, on the other hand, was acting as lead medic for a field training exercise in the NTC. So they go, hey, Doc, where's your shitter? And, excuse me, let me try and do the voice. Hey, Doc, where's your shitter? And so we had Aussies and we had Brits. And so I said, there isn't one, man, but I made a shitter out of rocks because I was bored over there in the Wadi. And he's like, oh, you mind if I use it? And I was like, go for it, man. I thought he was fucking with me. This dude comes back like 30 minutes later and says, thanks, I covered it up. Appreciate it. And so he went back to his fucking touch. And I'm like, this motherfucker really went in the Wadi, squatted down in the project that I made out of pure boredom and shit. I like him. I really do.
Yeah, but did he shake hands with you after that? Because
hell no.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm the medic. Like, I'm looking for shit. Like no, fuck you, no. No more alliance. No more allied. No.
The best. One of my buddies was out on the Iranian. I can't remember if it was Iranian or Syrian border, and he was working with the Brits. And on the 4th of July, he walks out of his tent buck naked. He waits till they're all out, right, and shaving and eating and everything. He walks out of his tent buck naked. He says, "I don't know about you guys, but today I feel like a winner." And it's the 4th of July.
Wow.
He's that guy. He is that guy.
He is that guy.
Jeez.
They never caught him.
What's going on? He pissed off the Brits. You gonna help? No.
Yeah. And then he just takes off running out into the desert, and they're just like, whatever.
Motherfucker.
Just you wait until the anniversary. Just you wait until the anniversary of the War of 1812. Then we'll have the last laugh.
Shit.
The Canadians are funny because I think they came with like some maneuver division or something, I don't know, but they came down for a field training exercise, but they were doing PT with us. And so as we were like going down like the main road toward battalion, we see these guys out there, and it had to be like 40 degrees, 41 degrees, and they're out there in fucking shorts, and we're out there shorts, long sleeve, no jacket, and I'm just this is NTC, this is out in the fucking desert, okay. So it's 40, no humidity, and it's just nothing but just bitter wind kind of blowing through, and I'm like, yeah, y'all are from Canada, because they're not doing no shit like that here, buddy.
Wait, were you in the box?
No, this is back.
Okay.
This is back in the NTC. Yeah, we weren't. No, if we're out in the box and we're doing PT, it'll just be straight t-shirts and fucking shorts. And
yeah, well, that's what had me confused, man. Is like, what the hell are you doing PT in the box for? Where do you find the time?
Well, if you're with HHT, well, I'm not sure. Well, HHQ, I guess, for non-cav guys, but with HHT, you can do that because you're not attached to anyone actually actively conducting field train exercises. So if you're just one of the medics manning like the TMC, you can have a skeleton crew in the back, but we even do sick call until like a fucking 7 because the lanes didn't start from like 8:30 to like 9.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because I was confused too, like because I looked at the packing list and I was like, shorts, fucking t-shirt, PT belt. I'm like, god damn it. we actually had the fake mosque. Like, you've been to the NTC, right?
No, I actually never had the honor.
Really?
I was deployed for just about half of my entire career, and I would always rotate into units just as they were about to head out. So like I would
so they
always
held
miss
it done
NTC
it.
cycles.
Yeah. Oh, you're lucky. You're real fucking lucky. I was about to say
I've
that'd be
heard.
the only way, dude. It's bad. It's now because now it's 4-week rotations. Like you're there
No.
straight. Like actually, if you're the receiving, excuse me, if you're the coming unit, you stay there. I think now 5.5 weeks, and the actual training itself is 4 weeks. Because we used to have a few weeks in between where we reset the box, we reset all our gear and shit like that. So we'd have like this mad rush before the next unit would be coming in. Because as those guys are leaving, new units fucking coming in.
That's freaking awful.
Yeah, there's no downtime at all. Because some fuck goes out on base, go to Barstow, get his PP burning, come back, call me while I'm playing fucking Halo, and I gotta take care of that. So we're out in the box, and I gotta look at his PP because he's pissing green and it burns and shit. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I got junior medics for. Fuck that.
Hey, what's the military policy on alcohol in the United States? Because I remember a friend who served in the Canadian, whose mom served in the Canadian military. She used to laugh because when Canadians used to have a policy where you could drink when you're on duty so long as it's at a military function, whereas
Right.
in the United States you're not allowed to do that at a military function if you are a soldier. So the Canadian soldiers used to get drunk in front of the American soldiers and tease them.
Yeah, that we used to have a policy. Like I want to say they ended that maybe 15 years ago, Jim, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it was a while back. It was at least over a decade. But what kept happening is that you'd have fucking LT would go and get plastered, try to drive back to troop or to your company area, and he'd get in a fucking accident. And then tomorrow he'd get drunk, and then get pulled over. And then like it would keep happening. So guess what? Fucking I don't know which general did it, but whoever was the fucking head honcho at the time was like, you're done. No more drinking in uniform at all. Because you used to be able to, and this is just from some of the old timers told me, you used to you'd be able to have 2 drinks while in uniform on base, and that was it.
They used to have a strip club on Fort Bragg.
No shit.
Yeah,
Used to be a strip club at Fort Bragg.
we found pictures of our sergeant major there
Oh, I'm not surprised.
when he was a PFC. Sleaziest fucking mustache. Oh my god, 19 years old, and he looks like he just got out of a slammer for like some kind of sexual assault crime. It was hilarious. Which, if you ever met our sergeant major, right? Like he's the most straight-laced, stand-up, do-right guy, and here he is with 19 years old with a mustache and his, brand new jump wings, holding beer, standing next to a stripper.
That's funny.
I love that mustache.
Yeah, we had like my sergeant major Trammell, my first ever sergeant major. He had one, and he was a Texan too. So he'd walk around with that Texas. I just call it the Texas swagger. But he'd walk around, hey, come here, hey, what's going on? Because he would always call me what was it, Malcolm X, because we would have to dress up as a fucking we would have to dress up like the goddamn that wasn't Saudis. We had to dress up like the Afghanis, and we'd have the man dress and the vest over top of it, and so I had these big ass fucking. I still had the BCGs on, and so he called me Malcolm X. Yeah, and so that was his nickname for me. He said, "Come here, Malcolm X. What's going on? Come talk to me. What you doing here?" So I'm standing at parade rest, just like I just got out of AIT sergeant major. He's like, "Oh, that's fine. Just quit that shit. Quit that shit." So he slapped my hand down because I'm waiting for my fucking platoon sergeant to come around the corner and see me talking to sergeant major without being at parade rest, because I know he's gonna fuck me up. But I didn't know at the time that the sergeant major would be like, just sit down and worry about it. I told him to do that, because everyone feared sergeant major Trammell. Turns out that sergeant major Trammell's wife was very fond of going to the barracks. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Found that out later.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, not if you live in the barracks.
But is that the one you really want, right? Like when he figures this out.
But he
the
never
one you want?
He never found out, and because I kept asking, I was like, so was it Echo? Because we knew like there was India and Bravo had the same barracks, Alpha and Charlie had the same barracks, and of course they were split male female. But he knew it was in the one with India, I believe, and he could like he pinned it down to Echo because or excuse me, India, because it was India Battery, and he knew it was someone in India Bat, and so India Bat would always get the shit details, like religiously they got the shit details because he knew one of those motherfuckers was fucking his wife. He could not prove who it was though, and I was like, man, that has to suck, because everyone of course knows who it is.
That actually reminds me of something that I used to hate having to do is go through the barracks while on staff duty.
Oh man.
Especially if it was a weekend duty, because like you're going through there praying like, Lord, please don't let me smell any dope, and let everybody have their clothes on.
Try to
That's
make
all I
some noise,
want.
try to talk loud so they know you're coming, and
Yep.
yeah. Oh yeah, I've had to. Oh.
First guy you see is like, "Hey, high speed, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And the whole bit echoes all the way down the hallway.
Yeah, I'm just about to do my rounds and gonna hit, what is this, door 125 first. Now you know what, I'm gonna see what's going on down here. What's going on, Fire Guard? What's going on, guys? Who's on here? Who's doing CQ? What's up?
Okay, so when I was in AIT, we'd been there so long, like they eventually just start treating you like permanent party, right? So there was like no nightly roll call or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
Well, one night somebody in the battalion they found him smoking dope. Wasn't even in our company. It was in a different company. So the battalion commander has everybody, wants 100% head count at 2,100.
Oh, health and welfare.
Yep. So our drill sergeants, and they say, look, you guys are a bunch of fuck ups, but you're not that bad, all right? So just be there. We'll do the count, and then you all go about your business. You don't even have to be in PTs. You can, wear your civilian clothes, pajamas, whatever you want, right?
Oh, nice.
So a couple guys took that to the extreme. Like one guy shows up in a banana suit. Another dude shows up in like silk pajamas, a dressing gown, bathrobe, pipe, newspaper. And then my one buddy, Patch, he fucking shows up wearing nothing but shower shoes and a PT belt.
There had to be no females in your AIT whatsoever.
Well, that's the funny thing is, it's a female drill sergeant on duty that night.
Oh, no. No.
So staff duty, somebody comes tearing upstairs like, Patch, get fucking dressed. It's drill sergeant so-and-so.
Oh, man, that's a sharp waiting to happen. Oh, man.
So he goes and puts on a jock strap.
I guess that's better.
It's technically covered in shit, but he could get fucked up for that pretty bad. Especially all she has to do is call first sergeant. Look, we got some fucker down here, and he's indecent. And so hang up the phone, and first sergeant will smoke that motherfucker until 2 a.m.
Yep.
So did you call it in, or did she just make fun of the guy?
She's like, Patch, get fucking dressed.
Because 9 times out of 10, she doesn't want to do paperwork. She doesn't want to make a big deal out of it, and that's what it is. Like some guys, like you can have fun in banana suit, everyone can laugh, but if you're pushing that limit, like you don't know where that limit is just yet, and so you see a few guys test those limits, and that's kind of where you know kind of where you can go in the military, because it's like a lot of the guys, and Jim can tell you this, it's a staff sergeant. You can have fun, but there's a limit, and you can't be that guy who's pushing that limit to the edge to where you start to break regs.
Yep.
But
oh yeah.
It's a different environment, and that's why having a transition going from military to civilian, having like hard conversations becomes hard conversations, because believe it or not, like there's guys out in the field right now, I guarantee you, who are talking about the Kaepernick thing, and all of them have different perspectives on different opinions, they're very staunch ones, but they can have a civil conversation about it. Like, and then people would think, oh, it's all infantry, what the fuck do they know? They're just fighting each other. No, not at all. Some of the smartest guys I've ever met are infantry because they want to be, and they know how to have conversations because they have to work with this guy, sleep with this guy, bathe with this guy, and do other stuff with the guy, after hours, and have to look at this guy next day. It's a different
General Petraeus was infantry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yep, one of the smartest people I've ever listened to talk. The man thinks in paragraphs.
Yeah. Writes memos in soliloquies.
Yeah, really brilliant man. That's the other thing too. Like to kind of bring it back to the whole Kaepernick thing is what initially, like I had a hard time wrapping my mind around what was happening because like if we had done that when we were still active duty or if I'm at drill or whatever, I would have the dog piss smoked out of me prior to the Article 15.
Oh yeah, instant like that without question. And then like I said, if it was somebody, because I think I saw someone saying that someone in uniform in a meme saying that they were going to do that too, and I'm like, yep, you knew that doesn't apply to you. Sorry, buddy.
Let me know how well that works out for you.
Oh yeah, that company commander is going to have your ass. Battalion commander is going to have your ass. The base commander is going to have your ass. You're going to be made an example of, and that example is going to hurt real bad.
Like it.
That must be a big ass if it can go around to all that many people.
Oh my God. Anytime it goes above the battalion, you are, for lack of a better word, completely fucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Any way, shape, or form people can do something to you, they will go to legal. People will spend the time going to the legal department just to see what they can do to you.
Oh,
yep.
People are malicious like that.
I have been in charge of research projects trying to find out how much of a book we could throw at a dude.
See? It really depends.
Yep. And the Army can throw a pretty heavy book at you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, nothing quite like Bradley Manning sized, but close enough.
God. That person got away with a lot of shit that they shouldn't have, and then got let off, and then was in a grateful little shit. So, yeah, like that just the fact that Manning got pardoned of all things, and then was a shit about it. Told me
that shit about it. I think she was basically tortured, so I think she has the right to be pretty pissy to people.
Well, the person who pardoned her didn't torture her, though.
No, but the government did. The military did.
But having somebody at the head of the military doesn't mean that they're actually in charge of it. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it, because technically the president is the commander-in-chief, but they're not actually in charge. Like that's honestly for pictures.
The American president is the head of the military in the same sense that Queen Elizabeth II is the head of Canada.
Yeah, that should be a really good example.
Like he doesn't set any kind of policy. Like no policy letter comes down from the president's desk.
That's why I kind of laugh. People say, "Oh, I didn't want to be in the military under Obama." It's like you're not going to be like Obama's not going to be showing up to your troop and telling you to go down to the motor pool and fucking PMCS your vehicle. Like that's not going to happen.
Well, he's only in charge of the drones. That's really it.
Actually, that's from generals and their intel. Their intel.
That was a failed attempt at that joke.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah. No, Obama did like his drones, though. I can't see. That's where I'm conflicted. If you want to find a place where I'm conflicted, I think using drones saves American lives, but that's at the cost of people who may be involved. And so, for me, it's like, well, what composite risk assessment was done to minimize the casualties using this particular medium? And I go back and forth on that.
Yeah, that's the thing that I hate to say it, but a lot of times when evaluating national policy, foreign policy, or any kind of issue, like even the Kaepernick thing, I struggle a lot with trying to demilitarize my thinking.
Yeah, because it gets ingrained. It really does.
Yeah, well, like the knee-jerk reaction to drones is, well, cool, right? We don't have to send a team out there to go kick his door and have the point man get shot in the chest. Awesome. And at the same time, it's like, oh, shit, we just blew up a car full of people that we didn't mean to blow up. Oops.
Yeah, because I'm all for making people go splat that deserve it. That's fine. But I'm also not for creating another cycle of hate that will leave one survivor, and then this person then spends the rest of their life creating a terror cell somewhere, because it defeats the purpose.
I will tell you what, though, there's nothing quite like that boom when you do successfully action a target.
See, I didn't get a chance to experience that. Well, then I wouldn't have anyway as a fucking medic. But actually, no, I lied. That would depend on who I'm attached to. So evidently, fucking scouts, they let their medics play with big boomsticks.
You never got deployed?
No. They sent me to how can I say this, hell, in the middle of the desert in California, where civilians aren't allowed to go, and pretty much.
So you did get deployed.
In a way, yeah. I get sent to a place that people who deploy don't want to go.
Yeah. There's a small patch of the California desert that everybody in the United States military tries to avoid at all costs. Unless you're like my buddy Patch, who stood naked at bed check and actually got assigned to 11th ACR.
Speaking of which, my instructors in AIT laughed at me when they saw my orders. They laughed in my face.
Were you 11th ACR?
Yep, sure was. Alpha Troop. 11th ACR, first Squadron, Alpha Troop, Assassins.
You didn't know a guy, a 96 Bravo named Patch, did you?
Patch. What was he in first or second Squadron?
I don't remember. It's been forever since I talked to him.
Patch. What year was it?
It would have been 2007.
Ooh, that's too soon. Too soon.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was there
But
around.
that's when he got there.
Oh, that's when he got. He would have PCS by the time I got there, because I got there around 2011.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if he was in first Squadron, I probably knew him.
It's possible. It's a small military.
Yeah, because I think I remembered someone's last name was Patch. Did you say it was 96 series?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know too many, but.
We're squarely tight.
Yeah, anybody who was I knew all the scouts in first Squadron. Of course, I knew all the medics. I knew infantry from Alpha, Bravo, Delta, and I'm trying to remember Charlie. I'm trying to think of who wasn't. I don't remember. God, did we even have a fucking Charlie? No. Now, see, I'm going to worry about that now. Barely
I guess that
remember
explains why you ETS'd so soon.
Dude, I got sick of it. Like it only takes one time for you to get lost in that desert. One time. I said, you know what? That's it. That's some scary shit. Like you can't.
What do you actually do? Like, what would you do? I don't see the point of being at an army base in the middle of the desert and doing anything besides training.
That's all it is. That's all training.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Jim's unit. Jim, what unit were you in?
I was in a couple, but 30 ACR is the one you'll probably recognize.
All right. Oh yeah. Okay. So one of our sister CAV units. 30 ACR comes to us. We are 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. All right. And so we have makeshift towns built in the desert, and they're probably 30, 40, 50 miles from each other. They simulate either Iraq or Afghanistan conditions, depending on what type of rotation it is and what type of training we're conducting. My specific job was to provide real-time medical services for those training there. So if we're conducting, let's say, not force on force, but if we're conducting, let's say, a raid on a cop. So you have a makeshift base on top of a mountain. And if we're playing like the folks who are indigenous to that area, we would wait till like 4 o'clock in the morning and take a hike up that mountain to kill everyone in there. Of course, we're wearing like pretty much laser tag shit out in the desert, honestly. It's laser tag. And so we can go up, whisper in your ear, what do we whisper? Safety kill. So wake you up, safety kill, you go back to sleep. There's a trainer who's out there, probably somebody of Jim's rank, who is out there making sure that if you're dead, and you stay dead, and that he's watching as we conduct this maneuver. So
now, mind you, everybody's praying for a safety kill so they can get 3 hours of sleep instead of 2.
Yeah, so a lot of people just play dead, even though they know we're coming. So it's our job to help train units on what to do and what not to do. And then afterwards, the NCOs who are out there training, the combat controllers, they take all that information, they take all the data, and they feed it to their chain of command. And so our chain of command talks to their chain of command after like the 3 or 4 weeks, and they say, here's what you did good, here's where you failed, here's what we recommend, and they go on from there. So it's a lot of work, and it prepares units to deploy to foreign land rather than just leaving them willy-nilly to do whatever.
I think it's interesting that that's a career where 90% of the people train and never actually apply any of it.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't know if I don't know if it sucks, but it's just interesting.
It does. No,
that,
it does.
You're trained to kill, and yet you don't even go into the place where you could possibly. Well, actually, you trained to be a medic, but you never actually had a chance to really help anybody.
Yeah, well, there were I have a few cases where I thought one guy died because he drove off a ravine and flipped the XO's vehicle. I mean, it's funny.
Shit.
Yeah, no, that's the worst part. It was the XO's vehicle he was driving, and I was like, this motherfucker furlough. Here's something not to do. If you think someone just died and you find out that they didn't die and you pull them out of said ravine and put them in the back of your medical vehicle, don't berate them in front of your battalion XO and sergeant major.
Oh.
Guess who did that?
I'm guessing that he has a picture of G-Man in his profile.
Yes, he does. And so I go, furlough, what the fuck were you thinking? So I'm just going in on him, and I'm treating him. I'm like, "What? Does this hurt, man? You are fucking dumb." Like, I'm just going in, and so I hear footsteps behind me, and I look, and I was like, I don't see anybody, and I look down, and I'm like, "There's our XO," and I'm like, "Oh, hello, sir." He goes, "Your bedside banner is horrible." And I say, "Yes, sir. Yes, it is." And he goes, "Furlough, that was fucking dumb." And then he just walks off. so I hear. And here comes Sergeant Major Trammell. Well, Malcolm X, that was funny as hell. So he is dying laughing because I'm berating fucking Furlough. And he's like, go ahead and patch him up. Go ahead and get him to the rear. I'm just, Roger, Sergeant Major. And so, yeah, that was funny.
Speaking of great quotes at opportune moments, when I was out at BNOC, which is I forget what it stands for, but it's basically like the school for middle
NCOs?
management.
Yeah.
It's middle grade sergeant school is basically what it is. So my buddy and I are walking back from the chow hall to our barracks, and they co-locate it all right with the kids that just came in the Army who are getting trained for their job. So it's like a bunch of brand spanking new privates who haven't been in the Army for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So they're all about the customs and courtesies, right? You salute everybody, stand at parade rest for, the buck sergeant who just got pinned 5 minutes ago, that kind of thing. So we're walking back from the chow hall, and it's a solid 15 minutes of good afternoon, sergeant, good afternoon, sergeant, good afternoon, sergeant. So they're like, I hear that one more time, I'm going to stab someone. So we get out of the main area, and we cut through this field thinking we're not going to see any Joes there, and there's a whole fucking gaggle of them waiting for their drill sergeant to come back from whatever they're doing. So we look at each other like, fuck. So we walk by, and they all jump to parade rest, and one of them says, good afternoon, sergeant. It's like, how do you know what kind of goddamn day it is? Are you a fucking weatherman now?
Excellent. We were soldiers.
And with that, I'm just going to end the show. Anyone who wants to stay and hang out, feel free to do so. Share the link if you'd like. And with that, we are going off air, and the broadcast will be stopped. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good